What's up? What's up? What's going on? Welcome to So I Was in This House. I'm your host. My name is Everett Lapel, and we're going to have an incredible episode tonight. We are joined by some incredible industry leaders. Before I go into that, I just want to say I recently got back from Arizona, and I met with. I went over to Rhino Digital for a live, very personal podcast episode, and some of you might have seen Cristiano post it about it. We recorded it, didn't go live, and it was like one of the best interviews I think I've ever done. And I think, he shared a lot of things that he said he'd never shared before. So I'm really excited about that, and that's going to be dropping in the next couple of weeks. Big news coming up with Service World Expo. For those of you that are not registered to go and want to go, I have a code. It's a promo code, House 100. You can go and you can get I think it's like $100 off registration. If it's not closed out, it's closed out in the next day or two or three or whatever it is. So if you want to go to Service World Expo and you don't have a ticket yet, you can get $100 off. Use the code House 100. I will be featured on the podcast stage. We're 4 podcasts. Very honored, 4 podcasts on that were accepted to share the stage there. This one being one of them. So super honored to do that. Service World Expo is between October 26th and October 29th. There's going to be thousands of people there. It's going to be in Vegas. Very, very cool. Very, very, very cool. Today, and in this corner, we have, ladies and gentlemen, bring you all on here at the same time. Here is your panel. We have, well, you know what? Let's go through it here. So this list got like whittled down. Okay. I started a post about, what's up, Lily? I started a post about, I don't know, a month ago. And I said, hey guys, I'd love to talk to some people who are, maybe different principles. Some believe in HVAC selling techs, plumbing selling techs, whatever you want. And some believe in just a dedicated sales rep role, comfort advisor, project manager, engineer, supervisor, whatever the heck you want to call it at this point in time, right? I mean, we've heard like every word from here to Timbuktu. Now, obviously, I spent, a decade inside of people's houses, top tier, sort of sales rep. I love it. I live it, eat it, breathe it, sleep it. And I'm looking at Doug over here right now because I can already see that. It's like, Doug, whenever you're in a room, you just bring it, man. You just bring that, like you're like bubbling under the surface to just get in the ring and like start. I honestly, I see it on your face and it blows my mind, dude. So we're going to go around really quickly. We'll start with Ryan, then Coral, and work our way around in this little box right here. Ryan, who are you? Why you're on this podcast?
Hey guys, my name is Ryan. I'm with Divergent Solutions, and I'm in this podcast. Honestly, I'm getting a little worried for you guys, if I'm being honest, because I saw Everett. Shots fired. I saw Everett posting about sales, which is something I pretty much advocate for, just hating all the way around. I'm an ops girl through and through, so I am realizing pretty quick that I'm outnumbered, and I'm the contrarian intentionally, right? So hopefully it's a good combo, different perspective. I'm looking forward to it.
You are not. You don't worry. I'm also, and I think that everybody in this room here has some semblance of operational acumen, if you will. It's not all sales here. Coral?
I am Coral. And I actually believe in all of it. So I am here to advocate for both sides. I am a
Are
comfort
you
advisor.
are you seriously already playing Switzerland?
I have to.
I'm just
I
kidding.
get it all.
I'm
I get
just-
it all. So, I'm here because us sales guys can communicate and some techs can't. And then I also like being a selling technician where I have the opportunity to sell what I want. So I'm here for both. I'm on both teams, and that's how we're going to play today, Everett.
And Coral, give a little bit of information about yourself and your success in the industry, because I don't know if everybody necessarily knows who you are.
So I am from Colorado Springs, Colorado. Right now I am with the best little mom and pop shop up here. I love working for this small company. I specialize in turning maintenance calls into the largest tickets that a company will see come onto their boards. I am known for turning maintenance calls into the biggest revenue calls that a company could ask for. So on any given year for maintenance season, I'll hopefully bless 3.5 to 4 million on maintenance calls. That's my goal. And I also train other companies how to do that and get their techs communicating properly to be able to do so.
Awesome. Douglas Mortimer Wyatt.
Where did that come from?
I don't know,
Wow.
dude. Just
I mean,
go.
I don't even know if that's a compliment. I don't think it
No.
is. I don't know. Doug Wyatt. I've been in the trades 20 years. I've owned a couple different companies, HVAC, plumbing. Won Linux Partner of the Year twice. Had the Linux Salesman of the Year 4 straight years in our region, working our sales process. It doesn't mean that I'm here to just advocate for the Comfort Advisor role, though. I can already appreciate Ryan's position. I think there's an output to every input, and they're all vitally important. But I have some really strong feelings about who gives us the best opportunity on a sales lead. And so I'm happy to discuss those today. I love business. I love entrepreneurship. I think I have a reputation for demanding excellence in every organization I've ever been involved with. So to me, that's what it's about. It's about servitude. I love the fact that Ryan said she hates sales. And I do too, Ryan. I grew up in a small town in Southwest Missouri. I didn't live on a farm, but I spent a lot of time on farms, baling hay, performance-based pay, right out of the gates as a youngster. And I will say this, I did not ever think I would be in sales. I grew up hating salespeople. My dad hated salespeople. And I approach sales in a very different way, which I think we'll maybe talk a little bit about today. So honored to be here with such a great panel. And
Okay.
I'm looking forward to the discussion.
And Doug, the owner of Synergy Learning Systems, which is an incredible organization. That's right. You've missed that part, but yeah. So he dedicates a lot of time into training, and honestly, it's quite maniacal if you ask me. I mean, gazillions of hours of of recorded content that you're training, and you train through through Service Nation, which
I
is
have, yeah. Yeah, I'm
which is really cool.
an independent, but yeah, and Everett's seen me do some live events. We do call center training, we do Comfort Advisor sales rep training, we do leadership training, and we do selling tech training. So we have an entire selling tech program, an entire Comfort Advisor program, leadership, everything to do with effective communication, but never high pressure. So
Very cool.
And then we put it all that virtually.
Mr. Yuri, Seth,
Yeah.
Mr. Asia himself.
I don't know if I can fully own that.
Fun fact about Seth, he was a college graduate and graduated in a degree in like international diplomacy or something like that, and knows how to speak like Mandarin. And he's frozen, so now I can say whatever. I can say whatever. I can say whatever I want about him.
Yeah, I don't. Whatever Everett just said, I'm sure it's completely true. You know. Now, I was laughing to myself when Doug was making his introduction about hating salespeople, because it's not so much that I hated salespeople, but I grew up obviously without a silver spoon in my mouth, which means that it's commissions or profits. That's how you make money. And I learned pretty quickly that I could make money through commissions. And so did every kind of sales job you can possibly imagine, did 4 years of door to door. And then I did 3 graduate degrees to try and avoid having to go into sales, right? So I did a law degree and an MBA, and then I did an LLM in Chinese law, and I practiced law in China for a year. And all of that to avoid trying to go into sales. Now, I abandoned the law. I should say I escaped from the law and got picked up by Daikin during their integration with when it was Goodman, actually. And that's how I got sucked into the HVAC world, right? And strangely enough, I wound up back in sales again, of course, because the thing you're always trying to avoid is the thing that keeps on pulling you back in. And so I've now been in sales for quite a while, but now I am co-founder of SetSale. I'm the CRO here, and this is an AI-driven sales platform. And so I have maybe a unique approach to this question because I do think that there's room for both of them. I don't think anybody can make some definitive you must do this approach to in-home sales, but I also think that the entire conversation will be rendered somewhat moot in the next 3 to 5 years because of the role of AI. And so I'm sure we'll get a little bit into that. But anyway, that's who I am.
Yeah. So thanks for that. Zachary, just before you go here and introduce yourself, we had a comment in the chat here that said get Sam Wakefield in here. Sam was actually on this panel, and Sam got really sick, so he's unfortunately so his comments is probably like puking in a bathroom or something like that. He's really ill, so he was actually going to be on this panel. He's not here. Sorry, Sam. I love you, man. And when next time we do this, we're gonna get going. Tony Mormino, hey, what's up, man? Nice to meet you, man. Zachary Friedman, who are you, man? Eccentric guy with lots of cool cars.
Yeah, I'm in the garage because the kids are in the house and a lot of noise. My name's Zachary Friedman. I'm the owner of Old Coast Heating and Air Conditioning. I've been in the industry since 2002. I was a selling tech for Service Experts for a number of years. I was a comfort advisor for several different companies. I've been an owner since 2011. I've grew the business from myself in a van to a company with 37 staff members currently. And, along the journey, I've kind of had the perspective from every window and every seat when it comes to this. And I think it comes down to intention, right? We're operating service businesses. The intention is to serve our clients to the best of our ability and educate them, not sell them anything. In fact, I think with the reliability issues gifted to us from all the manufacturers, selling often causes us issues rather than presenting them with the correct information so they can make the decision that they'll live with and not bring back on us. So I think when it comes to both positions, that's to be understood. I think selling techs have a lot of value. I think they can generate a lot of revenue, but I think because of private equity and the issue with technical and sales training when it comes to timing, that we've hit a point in the industry where the majority of its selling techs have ethical issues and are motivated strictly by their commission and not for the customer's end goals. And that ultimately is going to, like we were just hearing, when he talks about it's going to go to AI, yeah, it's because people are going to lose trust in individuals. Is once all that trust is eroded from the technician to the client, and make no mistake, no matter what people think, they're happy about it. They're this, you can look at everybody's views from every different contractor. The clients are very, very clear on what they constantly say. If they feel they're sold something, they're not happy about it, whether it's from a comfort advisor or a selling tech.
That's good perspective. And, I don't disagree with you there. I think intent is the key word right there. Anyone who wants to jump in, go ahead.
He said another trigger word for me, which is the private equity. He hit me in intent and private equity, and kind of mirroring what Seth said when he said he escaped law. I kind of escaped private equity for similar reasons. I think it became very transactional, but I think like the forever optimist, I think there's so many companies still out there that aren't ready to make that leap yet, that still want to keep it very personal and separate those things just because, those guys, the puffy vest guys, the reputation is there. The consumer's starting to see it, so I am, again, pretty optimistic that for as much of an experience as there is for just everything being volume, sales. Like I'll say all the time, when's the last time you had a great experience at Walmart? Never, because they're hiring for volume and not skill. And private equity is kind of painting themselves that same way. They're just trying to hit a number And the guys are like, fine, I'll make my money. But I do think that still for every one of those guys, there's a good one. Like there's a small to mid-sized growing company that's trying to do it the right way. That's still very much focused on the relationship and reputation. And I haven't completely given up that the big guys that they've won yet. There's a lot, I think, more than you realize.
Well, that's a failure of leadership. And I don't think it has, and I don't actually think it, this is me, right? Yes, I think PE is very bottom line focused, but if you have the right leadership team in place and you have the right people doing it, I can tell you this right now. I have run a branch for a private equity company, and I have literally said to my employees, there is no strike two. If you do anything unethical, you are fired. So it does not, literally, you are fired. And you know what? If I had to go back to anybody in PE and say, hey, the reason why, we weren't going to do this thing outside of the realm of ethics, then so be it. But so I think this is very dependent on the actual organization. And you're starting to see this now in certain groups. And I won't name names, but there are a couple of groups out there that are led. I was saying that there are groups out there that are led, that are forward led with people who are ethical industry people who will do things the right way, and not necessarily. I'm not saying that you don't have a bad taste in your mouth and that these things don't really happen in the world, because they absolutely do. But let me just say something that Zachary said, and we're talking a lot about sales. Let me just say, this is just a fact. Ready? Nothing happens, until something is bought or sold. Period.
Absolutely.
No, the manufacturers don't make a product. The staff, the accounting department doesn't have a job. Installers don't work. Service techs don't work. Nobody works, right? Now you have to do that ethically. 100% have to do that ethically. And anybody that steps outside that, in my book, they're done. In my brain, like, I cut you off. But so you're right. And so can those things work in tangent? And that's what the crux of this conversation is, right? Is it?
And you understand why it's happened, right? You can train someone to sell faster than you can train someone to be a tech. So technicians will always learn that faster. And then people's personalities are going to go with what's most efficient for their own pocketbook.
I almost have to disagree with that a little bit. And the reason being is I feel like a lot of the people that went into the trades industry didn't actually realize that they were going to have these interactions with people and have to sell them things. They got into the industry and they were like, I'm just going to go turn a wrench and I'm going to make my money and I'm going to go home and I'm going to be a plumber and an electrician and I'm going to go get my hands dirty. But then the world took a turn in our industry and it turned into, well, holy shit, if I need to put money in my bank account, then I'm going to have to learn how to talk to this person to get them to buy the inducer that I need to be able to install to feed my family.
See, I think that's the problem. You don't have to get them to buy anything.
No, you have to educate them properly, but it does.
If you just educate them.
If you educate, but it also takes communication to educate. And a lot of people have a very hard time with educating people in a way that doesn't seem pushy. And that's where communication comes in.
Okay.
Can I just point one thing out?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I dealt with the solar industry a bunch when I was in the financing world. And if you contrast the solar world to the HVAC world, what you find is that HVAC companies on the whole are started by techs. So they're people who are really good at the technical work, and they often struggle with the sales and marketing side. And on the solar side, it's the exact opposite. Everybody running the companies, all they do is sales and marketing because they're subbing all the work out to EPCs. And so the culture of the industries could not be more different, right? Like people look at them like, oh, they're all just home improvement. It's like, no, they're not. Solar has a completely different culture than you get in the traditional home improvement, like roofing and HVAC and stuff like that, right? And so the HVAC guys, to your point, Coral, this is a tech who got pissed off at his boss and started a company because he was sick of working for somebody else. And some of them are really bright and they scale these huge companies, but at the end of the day, like, they're operationally focused. Like, there's a reason why Service Titan is the biggest software platform in this industry, and it's not called Sales Titan. It's called Service Titan because it is foundationally like focused on the ops of the business. And that's what all the owners are focused on, is the ops of the business, which is great because it means you're like technically excellent in your installs, like in theory, right? But that's where the focus is on be like a true craftsman, a true tradesman. But so many of them, like the selling solutions in this industry, they're terrible. Like candidly, you compare it to any other industry, it's like, wow, some of the crap that gets put in front of a homeowner to say, this is how you should buy. It's so many people, it's literally that I'm writing on a piece of paper. I mean, it's garbage. Like it's so far behind most other industries. I'll just stop right there.
I completely
Part of
agree
it's
with
from the
that. I do agree
manufacturer
with that.
education, though. The manufacturers say the solution is to give the customer a new box.
And that is unfortunate also, because the systems don't have to be that complicated, but people aren't communicating it properly. And so the homeowners, that's why everybody feels like we're these sleazy sales guys, or that everybody's lying to them and they need 80 different opinions because they don't know who to believe.
Can I make a comment on that as well? Go ahead, Everett. Actually, I'm talking too much.
No. Go ahead, Seth.
I was just going to say, home improvement contractors in general have a really bad reputation, right? Like every time a contractor walks into your home, like a huge part of the reason why 2-call closes exist is because the contractor goes in, he talks to the wife, then the husband gets home, the wife says, oh, it's, $14,000. And the husband's like, oh my gosh, this guy came in and took advantage of my wife and is trying to overcharge her and all this kind of stuff, right? And so he's going to go out and get multiple bids and whatnot. You come back and resell the husband. And that's because there's just a general lack of trust in the person who's coming out to the house. But you know what people actually don't have a problem trusting, which has an extremely high level of credibility, and that is technology. Because I don't believe that ChatGPT is going to lie to me because it's not trying to sell me something. So if I can take this entire conversation and I can reframe it into essentially something that's more AI driven and objective in nature, homeowners are much less likely to try and whittle down the price because it's just, this is the price. That's what technology is telling me. And B, they're much less likely to think, surely this person would not have built this entire program that's based upon a lie. Because if that was the case, they'd get caught. So when you systematize something into technology, it adds an enormous amount of credibility to the overall sales process. Because you don't just have to trust me now. There's an entire established system here that looks much more professional than I am.
So
on a piece of paper.
This is it's sort of a separate conversation, right? Like I get it. So I'm going to take a page out of Doug's playbook here, and then Doug, I want you to chime in. Doug talks a lot about a theory in our world. It's reducing resistance and lowering friction and lowering resistance with the individual that you're trying to do business with, right? And so then they're really buying, they're not really being sold anything. I don't think anybody really gets sold anything anymore. I just don't. I think we're past that point. I really am. I think most of the time you do it the right way. But one of the things that Doug would talk about, and I'll let you talk in a sec, Doug, is what are you doing to build the actual trust and relationship to lower the resistance? And the main thing you have to do, it all comes back to one single solitary thing. And Seth, you touched on it, and that's trust. And now the question is selling tech or comfort advisor sales rep. Okay. And which one will do all of the things and check all of the boxes to get to a point where you can, and I'm not saying technology won't help, but we have lots of data, right, that will show, like, if you just give a price, like, here's, whatever, they go through their little process, Upfrog, whatever it is, we all know that, like, there's still a human element involved. Seth, you and I have talked about this in detail. I love your tool. I love your tool, but now we're talking about the human element of how to get to where we're at. Doug.
Yeah, you got to get A to B on it. You got to build the solution to sell it. The AI won't do that.
Yeah,
well,
I think
Seth built a platform that does this. We'll talk about it later. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've got a lot of different things going on here. So I'm going to try to stay a little bit laser focused on the topic today, which is selling tech versus sales rep, comfort advisor. Maybe later on we could debate how long and AI, and I'm certainly not opposed to that. But I think as far as tonight, we're talking about, should we use selling techs or comfort advisors? I'm going to address a couple of things that Everett just said. And I think there's things that I agree with already, and there's things that I probably don't wholeheartedly agree with, which is maybe a wordsmith for saying I disagree. But I'm going to start with this. Number one, we've got to operate from a place of integrity. In our program, Foundation One is our ground rules. The number one ground rule is the grandmother rule. The grandmother rule is that if you wouldn't recommend it to your very own grandmother that you love dearly, then we shouldn't be recommending it to our homeowner. So the first thing that we have to set up is say, we're not doing this from a place of manipulation. We're working to persuade somebody to choose us because we truly believe we're the best. We believe that we're going to install it the best, service it the best. We're going to stand behind it the most. They're not going to have to threaten us with 1-star reviews or call for action news reports or any of that. If they call our office, we're going to send the cavalry. If we screwed something up, we should fix it. And so I did like what Zach said. You know, we're not out there to manipulate. We're there to persuade. And what is the difference? I can tell you, we can sum that up with our intent. It's one word. Is our intent to serve that customer better than any of our competitors would even dream of? So anything that I share on this podcast tonight, let's just all agree that I think all of us are men and women of character. We're not talking about selling something that they don't need, overselling, overcharging, lying, cheating, or stealing. We're talking about being absolute stone cold professionals, right? So I think we can all agree on that. We're not talking about some of these guys, and I'll say this. I think our industry gets a bad rap. Contractors in general get a bad rap, and it's because of a few bad actors. I just refuse to believe that 80% of private equity is out there trying to lie, cheat, and steal, rip people off, selling things that they don't need. Does it happen? Yes. Does it happen with the one-man truck out there that's lying to people? It happens with him too. So I just want to say, I'm going to look for the benefit of the doubt with most people, but I'm going to get into what I truly believe about service techs versus selling techs. I believe that if I was going to have brain surgery, I would choose to have one of the world's best brain surgeons that wakes up thinking about brain surgery, reads about brain surgery, studies brain surgery every day for 8 hours a day. That's all they do is brain surgery. I want that person to do my brain surgery. I don't want a general practitioner that does a little bit of everything and then occasionally has an opportunity to go out and try a brain surgery. Same thing if I take a commercial airline pilot, I do not want him going and trying to fly an F-18 or an F-14 just because he can fly a plane. I want specialized knowledge. What I will disagree with Zach about is I have proven to my company and my response and my experience, and Zach may have had a different experience because he came from the tech side. My experience is that it's much easier for me to take a stone cold communicator, a professional, an effective communicator, a man or woman of integrity and character, and teach them the technical side of our business to make them about 70 to 80% proficient on most of the calls that they would run or the jobs that they would install. It's much harder to take a person that grew up in high school that said, I don't want to study, I don't want to role play, I don't want to learn about sales, I don't want to be in sales, I don't want to sell anything to anybody, and take that person with that mindset and get them to be an effective communicator without trying to be a hardcore closer that's just out there for the money. So my position today is, can a selling tech do the job as well as a comfort advisor? You're damn right. Do they do the job as well as the comfort advisor? In most situations, hell no. And here's the reason why. Number one, they're too distracted with the generalized knowledge of everything else that they have to do, running from call to call to call, and they're operating in what we would call a left brain cerebral hemisphere 80% of their day to 100% of their day every day. They are working to fix it. They are working to diagnose. They are working to work with machines and tools, and they are working to troubleshoot. And then all of a sudden we go, oh, now you've diagnosed the challenge. Go up and meet with this human. Sales is nothing more than a transference of emotion. We're either earning trust and lowering risk. And when risk goes up, trust goes down. And when trust goes up, risk goes down. And what I can tell you is what I've seen training over 7,000 technicians in this industry, about 6,800 of them or more say that their company is charging too high of prices. We're ripping people off. They don't want to be in sales. They don't want to role play. They don't want to study. They don't want to practice. I would rather take a person of good character, of integrity, and say, you have to learn the technical side of this business. You have to take every picture. You have to get every measurement. And when you sit down with a homeowner, you are painting a Picasso. You are going to earn trust. You are going to lower risk. And when a homeowner says, okay, Everett, sounds good. I like you. I like your company. I tell you what, I think we're going to go with you, but I've never done this before. I got to get 3 bids. Let me think about it. I got to talk to my spouse. I'm not sure about your brand. Let me call you next week. Most technicians that are also still trying to run 3 or 4 more service calls that day are going to say what? Okay.
They're going to let it happen.
I got to get on to my next call. They're going to say, okay, I got to go to my next call because dispatch is on the horn. People are telling me I'm behind the purple line on Service Titan. I'm not going to make it to the next call. I got homeowners waiting, and their brain is left brain, left brain, left brain, left brain. And then we expect them to go out and present 3 options, take them through these objection handling sequences that they didn't want to study in the first place, and they said they didn't want to be in sales. And now we expect them to sit down with a homeowner in 7 minutes before we send them to the next call an hour across town in rush hour traffic. You tell me, do you want the commercial airline pilot flying your F-18? Do you want your brain surgeon or your general practitioner opening up your skull? No, you don't. You want somebody that is paid on their performance, waking up every day from the time their feet hit the floor to the time they lay their head on that pillow and say, I am out there to serve homeowners. I'm going to diagnose everything in that home, and I am going to be ultimately prepared, laser focused to overcome bids, brands, stalls, and price. It is just as much about mindset and what we think as it is about what are we doing when we go in there on a 17-year-old system with an igniter that's gone bad.
I love it. And for those that are going to chime in on the audio aspect of it, so we've got Burn It Down, Doug. Burn it down. Doug is on point. Preach, Doug. Doug is absolutely blowing this apart here. I want to hear from Coral on this, if you guys don't mind. I don't know why. I could see some of your like body language, and I really want you guys. And this wonderful podcast, and I've been really blessed. I've got a couple of sponsors. I got a little video here from one of my sponsors, Cooper and Hunter. They make VRF, VRV systems, ductless mini split systems. They're actually taking over the industry. They're doing some amazing things. And so there you go.
Cooper and Hunter's new peak unit runs efficiently up to 19 SEER 2 with BTU capacity that ranges between 18 to 55,000 for indoor and outdoor units. Compared to a traditional gas furnace, Peak's revolutionary design is ready to step in without a hassle, thanks to its adaptive multi-voltage. True high-performance hyper units provide a 100% heating output at -13 degrees. Looking inside the unit, the new M-Coil is highly efficient and provides a better airflow that reflects in a higher static pressure. Our Smart Kit is included, giving you access to control your device from the comfort of your phone. Peak stands for powerful, efficient, auto voltage detection, and quiet. To learn more, visit our website or talk to your local distributor. Cooper and Hunter, addicted to comfort.
And I also partnered up. You guys have noticed there on the logo, it says My Method AI. This is a startup. I was like anti-AI, and then I started talking to Seth and some other people, and it's actually pretty amazing company. So what they've done is they've done a voice messaging answering service where it actually talks in your market. So like, for instance, I have a friend who has a company in Brooklyn, and the guy who answers the phone, his name is Angelo, and he literally sounds like he's just a regular bloke, a regular dude from Brooklyn, and it's absolutely amazing. And they've trained this. They have this AI is now following up on proposals too. So it's pretty incredible. The thing that I like about it is that like they're targeting some smaller businesses too, and so like I'm thinking about, I'm like, dude, if a plumber's under a sink, like he can't answer his cell phone. And so this really helps. It throws it on his dispatch board. It's an incredible company. That company, mymethod.ai. Go to their website, check them out. We will be co-branded. I will be we have a booth together at Service World Expo. So very, very exciting. If you have any questions about them, let me know. But yeah, so if you go My Method AI, you reference this podcast, they'll give you a discount on services, and you can get a demo and everything else. Okay, Coral.
Hey, Everett. Before you throw it to Coral, can I have 30 to 45 more seconds?
I don't think so, Doug.
I just want to say.
I don't know if I can follow you up after that.
No, Coral, you don't have to follow.
I love it.
Here's what I want to say. I hope I don't take any wind out of Coral's sails, but I'm actually going to give her every technician I've trained in the last year since I heard Coral on her episodes on Waste No Day with Brian Burton and Nate Minnick. I refer every technician to go listen to Coral. Coral's one of the best to ever do it as both a selling tech and also a comfort advisor. I'm not going to say that a selling tech can't do it. What I will say, coming back to Ryan, if our operations team, if our dispatch, if our call center does not create the time and the space for our selling tech to slow down and switch from left brain to right brain and get into the creative so that they can start painting a Picasso, to have time to sit at the table, to empathize, to go into this incredible effective listening and discovery mode with the homeowner, to be able to do the financing options, to know how all of that works, a selling tech will never have the success of a comfort advisor because they're being pressed for time by dispatch. If Coral's given the time on a service call and then she can flip to becoming a comfort advisor on that call, Coral and any other selling tech that's given the training, the opportunity, and has her skills can absolutely do it as well as the comfort advisor. They've got to be able to slow down the process and go into right brain activities versus left brain. And of course, character rules all. We've got to be able to discover, we've got to be able to educate. And even if it's a comfort advisor that came off of a car lot, that comfort advisor has to know enough about the technology of our industry to set the rest of our team up for success.
Coral?
I completely agree with Doug. I will absolutely say that. I don't necessarily think that a lot of technicians out in the field can get from point A, which is what they were called, to the house for, and then flip it to putting somebody on the market for a $20,000 HVAC system all within a 2-hour time period. I think it is very incredibly difficult. I do think the unicorns are out there and that the unicorns do exist and that it is possible, but it's very rare and it rarely works. And as far as only having selling techs at a company, which I have also worked for, I do feel like there is hundreds of thousands of dollars left on the table, because Doug is extremely correct when he says those guys have dispatch breathing down them. They have return to finishes to complete. They sold a blower motor yesterday that just got in that they have to go do. They woke up to go, go, go. There is no room for them to be able to then stop fixing things for a moment and go to empathy and sympathy and figure out what objections are they throwing at me? Why don't they trust me? How do I gain this trust back? What do I do? I feel like it's a very hard jump. Do I think the turnover process, do I completely agree with the turnover process? I absolutely do. I also think that it muffles down confusion within the office. You have just a couple of people selling equipment, measuring equipment, communicating with installers, communicating with the people that they need to, and things don't get so lost in translation. So I do agree that if you can do it and your company can sustain it, or you can merge to it, you need to be running a turnover process of some type. Fine, maybe you have a selling tech that is a unicorn. Let them do their thing, but give them the time to do it. Everybody's different. We're not all robots. I only do what I do because I've dedicated my career to this, my life. Like Doug said, I listen to the videos, I do the training, I wake up every day. I know I feed my family based upon me being able to educate and communicate to my clients. But I've also been through a lot of things that lets me empathize with these people. I've been through drug addiction. I was an alcoholic. I have been in the fucking gutter. You know what I mean? I can walk into these people's houses and be like, dude, I know you don't have $5,000 for a furnace, but I'll help you. A lot of technicians in the industry don't have that. They're just ready to install the blower motor and move on to the next call. They don't have it, I am both. I truly am, but that's because I'm both. Do I believe in both? No, I don't believe in both. I believe in sales. I believe in the turnover process, but do I want my company to take away the fact that I'm both? Absolutely not. I will fucking quit.
But Coral, you're the unicorn. Most people haven't put in the work, the time, the investment to be great on both.
But the crazy thing is I train on it. They just don't want to put in the effort. You
exactly.
Can do it. It's the effort.
I got to be honest.
And you got to be given the time.
I can't take it when you say the goal about selling a $20,000 air conditioner, right? Because again, that's moving boxes into the client's house. That's nothing to do with solutions. Just like when he
Why?
talks about how AI is going to replace comfort advisors in the field. They won't do the loads correctly, won't find envelope problems correctly, won't diagnose duct systems correctly, won't serve the customer correctly. Can tools help you close? Yes. Are there
You hear
situations,
bots, though.
hold on. Are there situations where a customer should get a $20,000 air conditioner? Absolutely. Should that be the goal of every call? No. There's a difference between today's revenue and lifetime revenue. And when you look at a client, you should never think what's on the table, because that's not what it is. It's about planting a seed, growing that, nourishing it together, and then you pull at the right time when the fruit is ripe. You don't do it because it's convenient for the company's revenue. You don't do it because your commission is going to be better. You do it because the client has the choice that fits their needs the best, right? And our goal should be to go in that house, find the solutions that increase the safety, the comfort, the efficiency, the reliability for these clients. It shouldn't be, let's put new equipment. My goal should never be what I'm going to sell or what my agenda is. It should be, I'm a detective. What am I going to find that is going to best benefit these individuals in this environment, reach their goals, and when I leave, everybody's going to win. Because in the process of identifying everything that's there to help them, revenue will come. We're not doing this for free. They don't have us in their house with the expectation that it's going to be free. They know it costs money. And I'm with Doug. Comfort advisors fit the need better. There are situations where selling techs are viable. The client just wants a box. Just give me an air conditioner. I just want a price. Blah, blah, blah. I want it today. I want it in tomorrow. This is what I want. I don't want all your other stuff, whatever. Fine, Mrs. Smith, you can have it. But most often when we are putting their needs first, we have to use the science. We have to use our eyes. We have to use our tools, and we have to use everything to our ability to ensure that the quality is going to be everything they want and more, and surpass their expectations.
So I have a question for you then. When you're like sitting down and you're looking at the end of your day, what if you had a day where you had 10 technicians on site and they ran 20 calls, and all of those calls, they went out to a 20-year-old air conditioner with over $3,000 worth of repairs needed? Okay. Now, and I also want to clear something up real quick. You hear $20,000 system. I'm in Colorado. I'm talking furnace and air conditioner. You know, I'm talking full set. You know what I mean? I'm not talking just.
Well, just 20,000 is not an expensive system. Like,
no, it's not.
We're in the Southeast here. That's a middle grade system.
Yeah, and so here's the thing. My question for you is, how pissed off would you be if every single technician you had on your team went out and quoted out $3,000 to $5,000 in repairs on 20-year-old systems and didn't offer the solution of the replacement? How?
Well, I never said they shouldn't offer it. Never said they shouldn't offer it. I said they shouldn't sell it.
No, you educate on it and you give them the option. My rule with my company is, before they even call me, before they get me on the phone, before I'm in the house as a selling technician turning it over to myself, I always give 3 repairs, no matter freaking what. You get 3 repair options. And if at that point in time you would like to migrate into a replacement conversation, at that point you will also get 3 replacement quotes. But my estimates for repair is on the table because that is only fair. I educate on what they should do, and
you should. The option should always be there.
Hey guys,
right?
But the goal shouldn't be that option's there. It should just be that they pick one of those options. It doesn't matter which one. The revenue and the profit's there.
Yeah,
I want to chime in real quick here, guys. Hang on one second. Ryan's been very polite. Ryan wanted to chime in a couple of times, and I saw her, and so yeah,
Sorry,
go ahead.
Ryan.
Yeah.
No, I'm trying so hard because I'm like, ooh, and then they say something else, and I'm like, all right, as soon as this opens up. So I think there's so much power in both things, because we're talking about and just using the context, and I can't remember who said it, but like the tone, like you have a technician, they're going out and they're tired and they have a skill set and they're working on something, they're trying to figure out how to repair something. I think that's such a freaking superpower, right? Like a technician that can come out and completely relate to a customer who just doesn't, I mean, they don't have the money right now, right? Like we have to find a way to get this customer comfortable right now, and an install may not be in the cards. So I've heard it said a couple of times, a couple of different places, like, well, the guys, they just go out and they don't give a crap about trying to even get them in a new system. They just want to fix it. Yeah, no shit. That's a really good thing, because the customer is uncomfortable. They're in a bad situation. You made it right for them. They're going to sleep good. And when the opportunity presents itself, first of all, you're already top of mind because you weren't trying to squeeze them into something. And second of all, your operations are completely dialed in where they've heard from you a million times casually without expectation in the meantime. That's a whole separate conversation. So I think there's so much power in both, and like letting your technicians go out and relate at every level to the customer, solve the problem. Again, I'm not advocating against not pitching a system at all, but some of the objections, some of the overcome objections, we're going to go wait in the truck and you guys talk about it and like blink the light switch when you're ready for me to come back in. Oh my God, that makes me insane. That's so presumptuous and just rude, right? When you have, so skipping very critical parts of a human to human connection when you're on the job. I cannot, like, I don't care if it's a selling tech. I don't care if it's the neighbor. I don't care if it's a dog groomer. If you're not solutions first and conversation first, and if you have a human being in your company that can go out and relate to a customer with a problem, oh my God, whatever it takes to make sure that they're successful, do that. Like, and I think this is my whole thing with sales, either role. If I go into the Coach store, it's Carlos's job to make sure I leave there with something. He's going to tell me all the options. He's going to tell me which ones I look best in. Here's the problem. I don't need that thing. God knows I don't need another purse. Shout out Carlos. But if what we're selling is something that's essential to stay alive and become, I'm in Texas. Without an air conditioner, we'd quite literally die, right? So when the focus shifts only to sales, like, well, I don't know what to tell you. It's going to be 20 grand or you're just going to have a heat stroke about it. I mean, you've already lost if that's the mindset, right? And I think it's a really slippery slope when you're incentivizing someone only on their ability to convert someone from a repair into an install. When you incentivize that, there's two ways that can go. You're going to have the good guys that understand it and they relate, and then you're going to have the ones who are like, well, this lady doesn't know what the hell I'm talking about. I could really sell her anything. So it's either way, but I think when you incentivize sales or incentivize the flip, it gets real touchy. You better be watching it.
Let me play devil's advocate for you there, only because that's kind of my job. So here's what I would say. I worked in a turnover environment, and I ran calls that I was like, there's no reason why this call should have been flipped to me. Like, I worked with one of the guys in the chat here. His name's Tony. He could tell you the first thing. It's like, and then you get guys that flip calls. You're like, it's like, wow, it's amazing. But let me tell you something about some of those leads that probably, maybe they were like borderline flips. Like they were like, no, maybe they could replace it. Maybe they couldn't or whatever. So I started coming up with a strategy on this and figuring out like, okay, what's the most effective way to make these kind of work? Because my company was bent on like, hey, whatever. And so it kind of switched my mindset, and it was like, wait a minute. So as long as we get something out of it, right? There's no adverse effect to me giving. Now it may hurt my numbers because it's, these are shoppers, but like if we're in the off season and the tech goes, you know what, man, I think they're just going to do the repair, but why don't you just go over and give them a quote. Be like, you know what, let me go get an at bat. Maybe I'll go make a friend. You know what I mean? I'll get a glass of iced tea in there, and I may not sell it, but let me go make a friend. Let me go, have the experience. Hence the podcast. So I was like, so sometimes every once in a while, and then it happened more and more and more, where I'd go out to a call where, look, the system wasn't really broken down. The ductwork maybe wasn't great. And so, but it opened a conversation, and they were like, you know what, honey, we're going to replace it next year anyway. What maybe it's an off season thing. Maybe my company was going to do something extra for them to, move it along. So there are strategies built in there that aren't necessarily like, oh, I have to, sometimes it's really just about giving more information. And I don't view it as bad. I don't view giving people information as bad. Now, if you become very, if you start putting pressure on, which you never did, but you start supplying pressure on, well, that's where the whole thing blows up. But if you got a guy going like, hey, listen, you want to replace this thing? Great. If you don't, we can service it for you. And they're okay with that. Then I made a friend. I may have not made a sale, but I made a friend. And you know what? Zachary talking about planting seeds for later, right? And I would train my guys, be like, look, I would say to the technician, man, you're out there. And I get it. It's not about flipping boxes, but it's like, if you see something out of line, you want to get a CA out there, let's get a CA out there. See, let's just say hi. Who cares? And sometimes it was the middle of it was spring and all the windows were open and nobody was doing anything. Right. And, things, sometimes it worked out and sometimes it didn't, but that's also part of the strategy. And getting back to what Zachary said before, it's like, it's intent. And let me say something, Coral, I commend you because I know you do both and you have to wear both hats and it makes sense. And I know a lot of techs that will run straight sales calls, like a sales call will come in the door and it won't be a diagnosis. It'll literally be like, hey, I'm calling for, and the company doesn't have a sales rep. They just have you and you go out there and you quote the job and, you'd much rather go out there and maybe, diagnose and go through it. I will say this though, it's regionalized. And I will say this. I live in Texas, but I am from the state of New Jersey. You could not find a technician in the state of New Jersey, like 1 out of 1,000, who even wanted to quote a job, let alone sell anything at all. And then I moved to Texas and to Dallas, and the entire market is like more than half of it for all the scale players, for anybody, whether it's independent or PE owned, they're almost all selling techs. And
can I ask you why you think that is?
I know why. I know why. I absolutely know why. Your workforce pool, okay? Like where I'm from, like in Jersey, it's like really weird. It's kind of the way society works, but like a lot of guys, like this, like lunch pail, go to work, get under the sink, get in the front of the furnace, turn wrenches, and like there's a lot of unionization there too. So guys,
unions
like
where it's from.
Yeah, so guys grow up with this like sort of union mentality where it's like, I'm gonna go make my $30 an hour, leave me alone, I don't want to do anything. And so there's this huge divide between those guys and like sales, like like a sales aspect. When I came here to Texas, all the techs want to sell. They're all like there's this like hustle mentality with the techs that I never saw up north. And so it was just a very big differential between the markets. And so
Everett, I have a question.
Yeah.
What year did you move to Texas?
2019.
What year did you just up till 2019? You were in New Jersey?
Yeah. I've been in the HVAC business for 17 years.
So I think some of that can also be from the time in, the knowledge of the position of selling tech and comfort advisor and the advantages of financially the technicians.
There's still no selling techs up there. But yet you go out to California and like Service Champions, it's all selling techs. And they're $100 and something million company. So this is what I'm saying. It could be very,
you think that has anything to do with the opportunity that exists to get rich selling cooling equipment in the desert?
Yeah, 100%. Climate does have a lot to it, but don't wait, hold on. You have seasonality all year long in the Northeast. It is freezing in the wintertime. Freezing. Yeah. You're selling furnaces and boilers left and right.
I think it might come down to age of home too. You got a lot more new construction in Texas, so a lot more builder grade equipment coming out, a lot less hard duct work, a lot more flex, a lot more, duct board, a lot cheaper construction. So it's not just necessarily that it's like an upgrade opportunity for the client. In some cases, it's like a health and safety thing that has to be addressed. So, the opportunities in that respect can be more.
Wouldn't that work in the opposite direction though? Because if you have a much more technical job, wouldn't you expect that it would require a selling tech to spec out that job more efficiently than a traditional sales?
Because the technical grade is slightly better in that Northeast area, they're going to have less problems created from poor installations, less problems created, from that. And that's going to also contribute to the fact that those guys don't sell a lot because they're so intent on maintaining and that idea of, we preserve what's here because, they see the value in it. Right. And whereas the further you go south, right, especially as you get into the areas with lots of new construction, a lot of times it does start to make more sense to make those changes because it wasn't done correctly. Right. Those houses were put up cheap. They were put up fast.
I don't know if I agree with that assessment. In my experience, the further north you go, especially in the Northeast, the more complicated the HVAC installs become.
Yeah,
Because you've
boilers,
got
etc.
so many more customs. Yeah, exactly. There's so many different variations. I mean,
But
everything south of the Mason-Dixon line is basically
yeah,
stock OEM type equipment, right?
well, I'm originally from Baltimore, and so I didn't move down here until
Uh-huh.
2007. So it was a big change for me
Uh,
going from an area where everything
yeah,
was metal, everything was,
yeah,
a lot more structured and a lot more durable. And then you come down here and everything's done quicker. Everything's done for speed and for, so I didn't take that with me, but, I noticed it, and it's common in the Southeast. A lot more of the work is
hmm
done
Yeah,
for
this
speed and
I don't
cost.
know if that necessarily. So yes, you need a lot more technical acumen when you are doing anything up north, because you're right. Galvanized steel duct work. I mean, dude, when I came here, I'm
Boilers,
like, boilers. When
chillers.
I had to learn like 4 different types of load calculations in New Jersey. I came here, I went up into an attic, and I said, okay, let me understand this. So I just went into about 25 houses in a row. We've got 2 plenums, a bunch of flex, and an air handler or a furnace hung. Is that what we're talking about here? Is this what you
No.
guys are whining about? Like, I couldn't even believe it. Like, I get, the one thing I will say is those attics are super, super hot. But when guys start complaining about how hard, like, especially like CAs complaining about how hard the work, I'm like, bro, you have no idea. You have no clue what it's like to be in a basement with water up to your ankle, and you're sitting there trying to size out a steam boiler that's wrapped in asbestos that's been there since 1900. Like, please stop whining. Like, no, I'm serious. That, like, literally, and then I've got to do asbestos remediation. We've got to do an interior inspection of the chimney, or make sure the chimney is lined. So you need a stainless steel chimney liner in there. I mean, your $15,000 HVAC job goes to $25,000 very quickly. There's a lot involved there. Chimney people. I mean, it's crazy. So, yes, the construction is older, but now we've come into the world where you look where all the, a lot of the PE that's happened anyway. A lot of it's happened in southern markets, but
yeah,
I digress.
Yeah.
I have a question for everybody. If we go to maybe like get a little bit back, like more on topic, would you guys say that it is a fair statement to say that selling technicians don't necessarily care too much or will concentrate on indoor air quality or water treatment? And the reason why I'm asking is because if we're going to sit here and have this conversation about selling techs versus comfort advisors, where something depends on commissions and a paycheck and who's feeding whose family or whatever, I think it's really accurate to say that a sales technician is not going to touch base on a lot of indoor air quality products or water treatment. They're going to try and sell the biggest fix that they can. As far as a repair is concerned, if they can get the equipment, then fine, whatever. But I don't think that they're going to be out there selling ductwork, halos, things like that are being left on the table by service technicians.
Yeah, 100%.
You're right.
It's being
right.
left. It's 100% being. And one thing that we're not acknowledging at all is that they are. And Doug said, "Look, yeah, I want my brain surgeon like working on my brain surgery. I don't want a cardiologist work." Right? Okay, guys. A true HVAC system replacement does require, or should require, some semblance of whether it's a load calculation, doing a duct count, something to do with static pressure, or something to do with for a CFM count. And then, guys, it's $15,000 to $20,000 to $25,000 for a system. Don't these homeowners deserve the chance to sit down for a half an hour, 45 minutes with a guy who knows what he's talking about? And so this is where it gets wrapped up, because if you have sales reps out there selling stuff, they don't know what they're doing, they don't know what they're talking about, these comfort advisors that like, then you have the wrong team. But the truth is, dude, I am a comfort advisor by trade. I led teams now, whatever. But dude, I went backwards and got a master license. I went backwards and got all the training. I went backwards to get all that stuff. I started the other way. I didn't start as a tech, but I got all the technical knowledge because people were willing to invest the money and the time into making me better. And I'm thankful for that. I had months and years of classroom training, of continuous training to understand it. Yes, it does take longer. But if I hire a comfort advisor, you better damn well know that I am going to pour everything into you so you have all the information, because the last thing that I want to hear your customer say is that you are a sales rep and I didn't like the sales rep. I want them to think you're my guy. You understood my needs. You understood my system. You understood me. You gave me financing options. You did all the right things. That's what I want to hear. And so this is where the disconnect is. The disconnect, and Ryan probably has experienced this a million times, right? Where it's like, you've got these guys half-assing it. They're not doing their jobs properly. And it's all training and leadership. Sorry, rant over.
Well, the other thing though, too, is like, there was a text in the chat that was like, I wonder what the average ticket from a tech versus a comfort advisor is.
That guy,
right?
by the way, that's Phil.
That's another metric.
Phil
that
has
I
his
think
own
is very
episode on
slippery.
here. Phil has his own episode on here. He has two of them. Phil is a $6 million. He'll do probably close to $6 million this year in sales. So the question is, I'm wondering what the average tech ticket on a tech is versus a CA in the same market. I'm going to guess the CA has a much higher average ticket.
Yeah.
Well, obviously,
30%
right?
difference.
Well, yeah. I mean that's clear. But at the same time, too, it's like I had said, a lot of. How many calls do I get from my team where they're like, hey, I have a client that's interested in a system. And I'm like, whoa, we're not even there yet. Did you look at the air conditioner? Did you open the coil? Did you give them the full service? Did you get their trust? Do they understand what's happening? I'm not coming to that house. If you're just telling me to come over there, that's stupid. Like, you actually have to put in the work as the service technician on site to even be able to get a comfort advisor on
now,
site.
Coral.
That is a talent.
Coral, let me ask you something now. Okay. So if that's the case, and okay, so really quickly, how long does it take you to get a proper diagnosis on a system, like on average?
A proper diagnosis, depending on what's wrong with it,
Correct.
to take the pictures, get the
Gauges,
45 minutes.
45 minutes,
minutes
okay.
to an hour.
45 minutes to an hour, and now we're talking about replacement, right? So for me, yes, I am an advocate for those roles to, for you to move on to your next call, and then for us, for you to get a comfort advisor out there, but
100%.
really only for the fact that it's like too much for you to specialize. One thing that makes the military incredible is small, specific tasks done extremely well. And
Regimented. It's very regimented.
Organizations too. Small, specific tasks that everybody does really, really well. That's how an operation works properly. And so, yes, and not to, I got a little heated there. This is a very passionate.
Well, I
Like
guess
when
my
Doug's
other question
talking
is
about-
on like a. Sorry, Zach.
When Doug's talking about, the right person for the job, the surgeon analogy and stuff like that, I don't know how everybody else is doing stuff out there, but like my production teams do all my repairs, even though my service techs can, right? So it keeps them moving from call to call to call to maximize call efficiency. They're the most expensive people in my payroll, right? And they're the most crucial to generating future business. So when those guys do get tied up, if it is a sales situation because the client's demanding that they do it, if it's, we're letting that one-off thing happen, I just lost some guy that I needed on 3 other calls for the day. Those are 3 other clients, right? And, they get stuck, just like Everett's saying, because, 45 minutes to diagnosis. It's not going to be 45 more minutes to, sign paperwork and out of the house if we're doing load calculations and everything else, right? So when, you think about the time spent and the need, and you can't manufacture good technicians faster than you can manufacture good comfort advisors from people who can already communicate. If you hire someone like Doug says, who can already communicate, you can bring them right in, you can train them effectively, and they can do that job really well. But it takes, like when Everett was talking, it takes a long time to become a good technician. Everybody can change a capacitor, homeowner, and go on YouTube and do that. But to really find the problems, to leave the house with nothing unturned, nothing that could come back and bite you. Here's a full list of everything. This is everything I found. This is what you need to heal this body, right? And then you have the right one for the job. You have your guys to diagnose it. Those are your service techs. Yes, they're going to sell things. They're going to sell repairs. They're going to sell IQ. They're going to sell stuff like that. But it's based on need. I saw this. This will benefit you, right? The comfort advisors coming out
That's
to really be able to spend the time with them.
sorry, Zach, that's perfectly in alignment with Doug's analogy on just like the medical reference. Like you want your brain surgeon to be specialized in brain surgery so that it matches.
Creates the best experience and the most efficiency. You
So
don't want
you-
the waiter
back
going
for
back
a-
in the kitchen to make your hamburger, you know?
Yeah. Compare those again. Like
I kind of want to.
if you needed brain surgery, right? Like who do you want to hear it from? Do you want to hear it from the guy in the moment that says, you know, this is what you need, and then you go to a surgeon? But I'm going to just throw a little bit of a wrench in there for all the salespeople to think about. Do you want your surgeon to give, or the doctor that diagnosed your need for brain surgery to tell you what you could do? Like, well, we could take an aspirin about it, or we could do a surgery. There's 6 options on the surgery, and it's going to cost $100,000. So if you just really lean into Doug's analogy about the specialized person for something that is essential to survive, which where I live, an air conditioner is going to keep you alive. How do you want that to be handled and addressed? Who do you want to hear it from, and how do you want to hear it? How many options do you want to hear before it all becomes bullshit? And you're like, I just don't want to die. So I think there's a good, no matter which position you advocate for, whether it's selling tech or comfort advisor, going back to just remembering that we're not necessarily selling a luxury item. This is a service business that is life or death for a lot of people in a majority of the country. So I think we have to keep that in mind when you're approaching.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Go ahead, Seth. You were going to say?
I just, I think we've made some contradictory statements along the way that we should probably back into just to kind of, poke around a little bit. We talk about, you started off talking about trust being the basis of everything, but I think everybody knows that the homeowner trusts the service technician more when he first shows up, Mr. Fix-It, than when the sales guy shows up. So if it's a function of trust, we clearly trust the service tech more.
Erroneous.
The second thing we talk about is
erroneous.
But it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. No, I think
debatable.
it's very debatable. I'll just say.
Okay.
Can we?
let's
Seth,
just
no,
set that
Seth,
aside
I
for
want
one
you to
second.
finish.
It also depends on the rapport building of the comfort advisor.
All right, let's
Depends on the
let me
skills.
finish the next piece, right?
Seth stepped
We're
into
talking
a
about
lion's den here. Go ahead.
But
Seth,
anyway,
we're
finish.
talking.
finish.
Well, we're saying that, okay, so the difference in ticket price between a comfort advisor and a selling tech is 30%, right? And the automatic assumption is that that's a good thing. But at the same time, in the same breath, we're saying, well, we've got to sell to what's best for the homeowner. And I don't know if you guys have ever had this experience, but somebody calls you from a different market and they say, we called this company, and you happen to know it's a gigantic PE-owned company. And this is a personal friend. And you're like, don't call that company. You're going to pay 30 to 40% more than you would if you called some local guy. We've all had that experience. And so the expectation that just because this is a 30% higher ticket means that that was the right thing to do.
Local's normally not cheaper. Local done the right way should be priced the same. It shouldn't be cheaper just because they're local. I mean, if you're talking about one guy in a truck, but he doesn't know how to run his business, doesn't know how to price the air conditioning stuff, sure.
Yeah, if you have a gigantic PE firm with enormous amounts of overhead, you've got to justify that through price inflation. And we've seen massive amounts of price inflation over the last 5 years. It's unsustainable.
I've seen PE race to the bottom more than I've seen local contractors other than one truck operations. I got to be honest with you. It's more common.
That happens. That's usually when they've hit their nut for this freaking month.
It happens because they let the selling tech sell without proper management. And then they let them sell. And then when they sell under, because it was easy for them to do, right? And it's already sold, service manager's not going to go, oh, Mrs. Smith, he gave you way too cheap a price. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Right.
So I've seen this from the inside out.
Yeah,
and
me too, a bunch of times.
And so Seth, very, very valid points. I do agree with that. I want to make a distinction between 30% more for the same product, which is not what we're talking about here. We're talking about the reason why is typically almost most of the time in a standard HVAC system is because the tech often will sell a coil and condenser on a furnace that looks okay, but it's still aged. Whereas the comfort advisor, most of the time, will walk out with the right thing from an engineering perspective, which is putting the furnace on, even though it has some useful life left. But I think in my experience, that's the biggest thing. It's selling a coil condenser or a furnace only when the right thing to do would have been to do the entire system at the same time.
Can I jump in here for a minute?
I think I just froze.
Yeah.
Go
All
ahead.
right. Number one, I think I'm going to push back a little bit on what Seth said. Sometimes, yes, the tech can have the trust, but there are so many times where the tech has invested zero time in effective communication skills. Their breath smells like shit. Their uniform's unkept. They're dirty. Their hair isn't combed. Their beard's unkept. They can't make eye contact. They don't know how to discover. They don't know how to ask effective questions or to effectively communicate. They don't know how to run financing. And so they're in there, and yeah, the homeowner trusts them, but is that always what they need, is just to change the igniter on a 20-year-old system? You know, let me say this. I know that Zach has mentioned a couple times, I can't remember how you said it, Zach, and I kind of hear some cognitive dissonance there, because obviously you've been in the trades a long time. You've seen some terrible things happen, probably from both people you used to work with and people in your competitive marketplace. What I can say is I think we have a responsibility to get really good at sales. But what I'm really talking about is influencing with integrity. I'm going to go back to the grandmother rule. We shouldn't offer it
agree
if we
with
wouldn't
that.
recommend it to our very own family member. So here's what I would say. If I have a tech, and this is going to go back to Coral's comments, which I 100% agree with, which I think what she was getting at, is your average technician going to also, if they want a new furnace, are they going to talk about high efficiency variable speed? Are they going to change the return air duct drop? Are they going to talk about all the bells and whistles with indoor air quality and 5-inch media filters and all the UV bulbs? Are they going to do that? Unlikely, because not only do they usually not have the time, they don't have the training, they don't understand how the financing works. But I'll give you a real life example. I moved into a home years ago, 3 stories, had 150,000 carrier, 150,000 BTU carrier, single stage, 80% furnace. If I would have called the average company out and they would have sent me a technician that had all the tech skills, that tech would have probably been in a hurry. He wouldn't have had great communication skills. He would have been selling, as we say, out of his own pocket. He would have thought it would have been way overpriced to sell the top of the line, high efficiency, variable speed unit. If I believed that tech, because he had on a uniform, because he was dirty, because he could speak the technical jargon, I probably would have ended up with a $5,000 or $6,000 basic 80 change out, same crap that I had in there before. My upstairs primary suite was burning up in the summer and it was cold in the winter. My basement and the man cave and the theater room, it never warmed up in the winter, right? And it was freezing cold all the time. We couldn't even use the theater down there. And so what I would prefer is to have somebody come in with the time to invest in me, to say, what are you looking for here, Doug? What challenges can I help you to solve? What do you hate about your home? And as I started to describe these things, allergies, indoor air quality, how can I fix this? How do I fix the comfort level in my upstairs primary suite? If then I had a guy say, okay, well, we can get you this basic system for this basic furnace for $5,000, or over here, this variable speed high efficiency unit is 12. Now, if that selling tech or Comfort Advisor, either one, knows what a payment factor is, knows how to talk to me about rates, knows how to get me qualified on financing, and I'm thinking about stroking a check for $5,000 or $6,000, or on 1% or 0.96% on 180 months, I could get a $12,000 furnace that actually solves all my challenges, cleans up the air in my home, is more efficient on my utility bill, and I could get that for $120 a month. You tell me, if he's in your grandmother's house, who do you want? I want somebody giving me all of the options, sharing everything I can do to solve all my challenges. And even if my mother or grandmother is on Social Security, we should be recommending what's best for that homeowner and allowing them to decide. We should not allow the tech to say, there's no way I would spend $12,000 on a new furnace or all that crap with indoor air quality. And maybe it's because he doesn't have allergies. Maybe it's because of his paycheck and he couldn't afford it. But maybe it's because he sees what we pay at the supply house. And maybe he knows how long it takes him to install that basic 80. And in and out, he's in and out of that house in 3 or 4 hours. And so he's going to say, I got to get to my next call. I don't want to have to talk about all this stuff. The homeowner's already telling me they want the cheapest price. And I'll finish with this, because I'm sure you guys have a lot of thoughts on this. Our customers have us show up to the home believing that we are a commodity. They want to commoditize what we do and say we're much more akin to plugging in a refrigerator from Lowe's than a highly skilled trade that needs to look at the airflow, that needs to measure the CFMs, that has to look at the entire envelope of the house. If we can educate them on what our trade is all about and the challenges that we can actually solve, most of our customers customers, instead of saying, we're just looking for the cheapest, we just want the cheapest price. If we buy into that and allow our customers to dictate the way that we're going to serve them, we're basically just a commodity. We need to humanize the process where we serve people better. There's a guy named Thomas Watson. He founded a company named IBM, and nobody ever would have heard of IBM. They had the best technology in the world in the 1940s and 50s. And Thomas Watson said, it doesn't matter how good our technology is if we don't know how to sell it. So he coined a term, and you guys know what he said? He said, nothing happens until something gets sold. And I'm going to say that we should just change that a little bit and say nothing happens in the HVAC industry until somebody gets served. That's a full manual J. That's measurement of airflow. That's making full recommendations. And if our technician is going to go out there and talk about full system replacements, he better be well-versed in effective communication, discovery skills, manual J's, and how to finance a system. Because if our technicians don't know how to finance the system, to Coral's point, they're going to go in there and recommend basic 80s when they should have been solving major challenges. And I would say every time, and I've won a couple of national awards, every single time that my men went in there and just changed a box and a technician said, oh, we'll get you an 80 for an 80 in single stage, those homeowners were unhappy. Because even if they spent $3,000 versus $10,000 on a new furnace, they were unhappy because $3,000 was still $3,000 to them. And for that, they thought, well, I'm getting a brand new system. I'm sure that my home will be more efficient. I'm sure that my upstairs primary suite's going to be more comfortable. My hot and cold spots in the basement are going to be taken care of. And we all know we are underserving the homeowner when we don't make those recommendations. And so when our techs sell out of their own pocket, when they're not given the right amount of time, that they don't have the training, they don't do the role play, we're going to be in a world of hurt with homeowners giving us bad reviews, calling up. And plus, that's not even going into the point of I don't discount. We should command our prices at where we set them. Discounting is a drug. And if we allow our teams to go out there and discount, how in the world can we earn trust if we're in the home going, well, it's $10,000, it's $10,000. Oh, can you give me 10% off? Well, yeah, can you do it today? Let me call my boss. That's shady sales.
Hey,
that's never happened.
Didn't we just say it was easier to train a salesperson than a technician? So
I don't know, ask Coral,
if this
she's
is just a
training them
question
both.
of sales, then why don't we just train the technician? I mean, if we actually believe it's way easier, right?
Okay, that's
Well, did you miss the part earlier about the technician costing the most amount of money and being there to set up future business? So it takes longer to make those people, since you can't cover the ground without having those people, and you can cover ground faster by having the sales calls taken by salespeople and having your technical assets, which are your hardest and most difficult to train individuals, to have a quality person in there. It takes years. It takes years. No matter what anybody says, it'll take about 5 years to make a tech what I consider solid.
Yeah,
Coral's a testament to the fact that we're putting a lot of emphasis on just the title, and there's really, if the thing I think we all have in common right here is that it's about the person and what they bring to the table. Whoever sales the thing, I think what Coral's doing on the education and coaching and training on how to talk to the people, I don't think it matters what your role name necessarily is.
Well, yeah, but it matters what you're capable of doing for the client. Right, a comfort advisor is not capable of showing up and necessarily diagnosing the next problem, and these people run specific different types of tasks.
Well, we could just make it really simple and say, if it could be done, then why isn't it just done? Like, why are we having this conversation? If selling technicians,
just because the bartender can go in the kitchen get a steak doesn't mean he should.
Yeah, exactly. But that's why we're all sitting here.
He's going to make more money at the bar serving drinks.
Right. A comfort advisor selling. Right? Like selling, educating, telling people, giving them ideas about what could benefit their family, right?
Coral's absolutely right. And I want to clarify something.
I think of a comfort advisor more like a concierge.
Maybe,
you tell them what you're looking for, and they find it for you, and they say, hey, you know what? This is the best seats in the house.
All of the companies that come to me for training, their number one thing out of their mouth, I'm like, hey, why are you even calling me? What can I help you accomplish for your team? The number one thing that company owners say is, my service technicians are leaving the houses with $0 tickets.
That's a problem.
Sales team
it's a problem.
But that's a process problem more than anything else for them. That's not a selling problem.
It's a learning problem. They don't want to learn it. They are not there
Kinda.
to learn it. They don't.
I mean,
Because
do they
someone
have
that
all the
works on
right structure in
processes
place? Do they have a
exclusively-
call-by-call manager? Do they have people that are really helping this process stay consistent from call to call,
Zach, they
crafting the
probably
same
don't.
experience?
They
Half
probably
of
don't.
them
But
won't even follow it because if you have a company that doesn't have a call-by-call management system, and then all of a sudden you try and implement it, the ego kick that those dudes get to their gut is insane, and they quit.
Yeah.
But that's because they're going from 0 to 100. When you implement stuff like that, you got to drip it. You have to drip those things.
They
You
see
can't
somebody
just
taking their
flip a
manhood
switch.
away from them, and they don't want to learn how to offer proper
When it's done
options.
incorrectly, it's done to support
I
the
agree.
technicians, not disable
I
them.
agree. I agree.
by the way, I
with you.
saw a really good comment over here. Alan was asking, and maybe Alan missed what I said when we opened up tonight, but I absolutely believe in both models. The biggest challenge is, number one, a lot of our techs don't want to train on the sales and communication side. They say, I don't want to study, I don't want to role play, and I didn't get into this business to be in sales. They would rather do a repair versus replace and turn it over to somebody else that enjoys that. It's not that selling techs can't sell. It's not that they can't give options. It's two things. Number one, it's mindset, time, and training. It's the other thing is that their dispatch is driving them to get to the next call. So even if I have a tech that's cross-trained in all of my Comfort Advisor role in a full-blown sales process, if I or my team, my dispatch doesn't give them the time and is pushing them to get to their next call, they're going to shortchange that process. And so it's not that a selling tech can't do it. It's that most of our operations are not geared towards allowing them to do it. We're not organized enough in our dispatch and our call center to move calls around and say, oh, we've got a guy that's now talking with a homeowner that doesn't want to throw $3,000 in parts repair at a 17 or 20-year-old system. They would like to hear about new replacement options. We have a choice at that moment. Do we clear the next call from that technician's schedule so that he can slow the process down, serve that customer better with integrity, treat that person like his very own grandmother, and move forward with a full-blown sales process, sharing all options on replacement and repairs? It's not that they can't do it. It's first that most of them don't want to do it. And then number two, they're not trained to do it. And then number three, they're not given the time to do it.
Yeah, Ryan,
That's why we got to have a turnover process at least to bring somebody in that can serve these customers better. Not to hard sell them, not to oversell them, not to overcharge them. It's about solving challenges. I'll tell you this. If somebody went into my mother's home, and she's going to be 80 this next year, and they recommended $3,000 worth of repairs on a 20-year-old system when she's got great credit and money in the bank, and they said, oh, well, this little old lady, she doesn't want to spend, $15,000 on a new system. The most important thing to my mother is to be comfortable in her home because she's there 99% of her life now. And so if they went in there and did repairs on an old 20-year-old system on a basic 80 single stage, and she still got hot and cold spots, and she could have put that $3,000 towards a $12,000 investment where she had a $120 monthly payment, I'm going to be mad. She's going to be furious because that technician didn't do their job. They sold out of their own wallet and said, I'm going to sell this little old lady this, and she's going to be happy because I saved her $6,000. And that, to me, it's just not the truth. And that's underserving our clients if we don't share all the options. Our homeowners,
You never give somebody a short menu. You don't go in a restaurant and say, I only want to see that section.
Our homeowners look at us like we're the refrigerator at Home Depot. They have a fiduciary responsibility to tell us they want the cheap because they see us as a commodity. We have a responsibility to go in there and share all of the amazing things that we can do to make their home safer, to make it more comfortable, to make it healthier. And if we don't do that and our guys are just going call to call to call, we're not doing that. So it's not that we can't. It's that they don't have the mindset oftentimes to do it. They don't have the training. They don't want the training. And then they're not given the time. But those that are, and I'll say this, at my HVAC companies, every single one of my technicians, whether it was a green person, a maintenance tech, they were constantly in my cross-training program to learn how to sell full systems. It doesn't mean they always got that opportunity, but I'll tell you this, every time the summer heat rolled in, our guys were prepared, and now they were chomping at the bit to get out there and run a sales lead because they've been practicing.
Even more important, Doug, they understand. They understand when they turn over what the next person's going to have to do on that process so they don't miss things. They're not having conversations going, hey, did you get, and the information's given. Everything is transferred.
Absolutely.
It's a full handoff. Yes. There's no questions left on the table when everybody knows what the next person has to do.
if
Right,
I were
so
going
that's
to
it.
reject,
You should always cross train.
Right.
like if I were going to reject the comfort advisor model from any reason, it's because I'm the ops person and implementer. And the only reason I would say don't involve another person is because there's not always a system in place to support it, and it just adds a level of chaos. There's someone in the office that thinks she has to call every time, and did you write? So the only reason I would say like just don't do it, don't add another person, is because I see a lot of people whose processes are crap or non-existent. So kind of reeling this back into what you said earlier, you guys said a couple of those words, like your systems and
That's
processes.
for any position. You shouldn't have any
Exactly. So
position without having a process for it. That's
like education and training without the support system that's ready to field that for them is crap. And then a system without people that know what they're doing is crap. So to like pour some water on the fire, yes, the education and training is important, but, and it may just be because I'm super partial, the processes and systems that support what you're coaching and training are pretty important. Also, because if the team isn't ready to field the ball when it's thrown, well, I mean, we all kind of lost.
I feel like Ryan is a little bit like me in that aspect too. I feel like we might be a little bit OCD, and if the process isn't followed to the T, then I just don't want to do it. Right?
Don't make us look stupid.
Like nobody will do it better than me. That's how I feel. Like if I'm not there from beginning to end, it will get messed up. Like I already know that, so I'll just do it myself.
That's a good point.
And I feel.
I believe in building systems that make that happen, that eliminate the gray area. Like your system should work like a freaking McDonald's menu. If you can't in a couple of seconds know exactly what you need, 1, 2, 3, like when you're in the field and you're in 100 and whatever degree attic, you don't give two shits what some lady in a 65-degree office is telling you to do on a computer. Like the process and steps that you take in the field to get what you need to get should be so freaking simple that I'm not telling you while you're out rolling around in ants and dog food.
It's as easy as putting a checklist in your service Titan and not allowing the call to be completed without it filled. That's a
process.
So
and
easy.
It's like a relay. When this is done, it passes to the next. When this is done, it passes to the next. Otherwise, all the work and training you've put in is for nothing. We all look like a bunch of idiots, no matter how smart we are or how prepared we are. If we fumble when it's go time and it takes us 3 days to like have conversations unnecessarily to pass things around, that's a completely different kind of just wasted energy when you've poured so much into teaching people how to serve the customer correctly, and then it gets in the office and everybody is like, ooh. That should be so clean.
So both can be true, right? So, and I want to talk about Alan Dean. For those that don't know who Alan Dean is, he does like a bunch of coaching and training. He's I was fortunate enough. He sent me a copy of his book. I read. He's not done like public. It's published, but it's like a pre-published. Tommy Mello read it and reviewed it. Joker Sarah and like a bunch of other. Doug, I don't know if he sent you one, but anyway. So I just finished reading the book. I was on the plane. I finished reading the book, and so he said something. He's like, looks like it's a failure of leadership. He's very passionate about the selling tech model. He probably wasn't around before when we were talking about this, really compartmentalizing your company and stuff like that. I'll talk to him, but like the thing is, and I get it. The thing is that, so I want to be clear, like, so Alan had this book he wrote. It's called Built After Dark, BAD. And it's fantastic. I mean, the book, I mean, I have, and this is like a free plug for him. Like, when it comes out, guys, and it's get published, like this guy literally like almost lost 2 kids, like in the NICU. He had to go through, he built like a couple of businesses, like literally at 2:00 in the morning. This is a crazy, he's supporting his family, like, and he's like out like for 900 hours a day. Very, very cool book, very heartfelt, very, very neat. And he shares a lot of systems and processes that he used.
Alan, can you put the name of that book in the chat?
Built After Dark. Built After Dark. It's not out yet. We're just reviewing it. I had some people review it, and so I also want to point out that Coral's mom is in the chat, which is really kind of neat. So that's pretty cool. She quote sold her mom a new furnace. Okay, which is
it
good.
Wasn't broken either. I will have you guys know.
Yeah,
it was just.
Does she still have the hot and cold spots like Doug was talking about? Did you sell her right furnace?
Yeah, I educated her on everything she needed to make the correct decision. After I diagnosed it, I will also have you know that sucker was up and running, and she still bought a new one from me.
I think this is a good segue.
It took me 3 months to I'm sorry, I have to say this, and then I'll let you go. It took me 3 months to sell my mom that goddamn furnace.
Wow.
3 months. She got 3 other quotes.
By
Or
the
you're
way,
I'm kidding.
Everett,
She did
I
Alan
recently
may have
gave
missed
my
the
parents
beginning.
a system, and like I felt bad about it because modern equipment's so bad.
Hey,
get
by the
it, I
way,
get it.
Alan is spot on. It is an operations challenge, but I see that operations challenge in about 90% of the businesses across the country. And I think that's Coral's point. It's my point. It's Zach's point. Everybody's point is it's not that selling techs can't do it. It's that there are some definite hindrances to them doing it. Part of it is operations. Part of it is leadership. Part of it is training.
Yep.
Part of it is attitude. So many of the best comfort advisors in the country were technicians, but it's aces in their places. What are they focused on? What are they willing to train on? What is their mindset like? What are they doing for their effective communication strategy? If the tech has the wrong mindset, a bad attitude, doesn't want to do it, he's the wrong guy to have on that call. If he's the right guy and you give him time and he's been through the training, then great, then he can do it. But that's not the case in about 80 to 90% of the businesses in North America in the trades. It is not specialized, and most of those guys have bad attitudes.
Yep.
Not all
Well,
of them, not all of
I-
them, but it's a mindset challenge.
Before
I just feel like
go ahead, Seth.
I just feel like there's an expression that I really like, and it says, there are no solutions, only trade-offs. And we're talking about this as if there's one solution. And I think about game theory, which says, hey, in the market, there's a dominant strategy. And so I've got a buddy, Trent Lowenstein, who tells the story about when he plays video games. And so you play a video game, and periodically, they release a new level. And the new level is new to everybody. And so it says on day one, you hunt and you find some position where you can hide out and just snipe people. And so for the first 2 or 3 days, you're just killing everybody and you're so good at this position. But after a few days, you go into the level and you find there's 10 other people in your position. And so now you got to kill all these people before you can start sniping. And what happened is the ground shifted underneath you. So everybody else learned your little secret and they started replicating. And the dominant strategy in your market changes when everybody does the same thing. So guess what? If you're in a market, it's all comfort advisors, maybe there's dominant strategy in having a selling tech market. So this is about trade-offs. And I think that there's going to be a dominant strategy that's different because really what you're aiming for as a contractor is differentiation. If you're doing and running from the exact same playbook that everybody else is running from in your same market, you don't win. You don't win if every single person who's listening to this podcast is like, okay, I'm convinced we're all going to do this one thing. And then everybody in this little market does the exact same thing. You're not going to come out on top. So the fact that the selling tech model is being implemented by gigantic companies and they are winning with it. But guess who decides who the winners are? Not us, not the people on this podcast. The market decides what works. And the market has decided that the selling tech model works really well in some markets. So it doesn't really matter.
Totally
what we sit here and
agree.
say.
I think it's situation more than
success
market.
is the ultimate arbiter of truth,
Yeah, and I don't think we're gonna, guys. We're not gonna solve this problem. Let me say this.
But
a lot of passion.
It's situation more than market in that instance, if you think
Yes.
about it, not the market.
I agree with Zach.
The
on that,
situation.
for sure.
We have come to a point where we understand that there is no right or wrong answer. But what I can say is, as a business owner, as a leader, you have the choice to choose what model you want to run. And this is what people don't seem to understand. See, they're subscribing to softwares and they're purchasing all these things and these tools and these shiny objects, and they're rushing towards trying to get to the bottom line. And the thing that we forget is that you can choose to run a company a certain way because it fits it fits more in line with your whether it's your moral compass or your company mission. And maybe it's not necessarily like, oh, I want to be completely bottom line focused. Maybe bottom line focus is like number 2 or 3 on your list. I know somebody that runs a company, really successful company here, has been offered a ton of money for his company and will not sell it. And his thing is he's running a really cool culture. He likes it. He's got really cool shit in his warehouse that everybody's playing. Like, he's got an amazing team. He's building lives. And for him, that's way more fulfilling than saying he's going to get 20 million from a private equity company. That doesn't mean it's not going to happen sooner than later or at some point in time, but it'll happen. And I don't want to throw this in, but keep in mind too, Seth, and I know you know this, but like now, there's obviously call by call model. Sam threw it out before, right? Where you only send texts in the house and you have a dedicated sales rep sitting at a desk who can look at like 15 calls at a time, and that guy's selling $3, $4, $5 million a year, whatever it is, depending on how big the company is. But a lot of scaled companies are now doing this, where they're not sending a guy to the house to do all those measurements. They're not sending a guy to build rapport. They're basically puppeteering through the technician in a virtual sales environment. And more companies are adopting this. And we didn't even touch that topic, which we won't. But that'll be our next. That'll be our next episode. And yes, it is the ghetto model, John Gonzalez. It will. And sort of like, and I guys, I think this could easily be a 2-3 hour podcast. I want to be mindful. Like, I kind of set aside like 90 minutes to do this, but like totally fine with like a last kind of words right here. But I want to,
90 minutes is just a warm up.
I want to share. Well, for you and I,
I'm
Just getting started.
Sweating and shaking.
Yeah, I love it, and the comments. I mean, in the chat here, for those that are going to listen to this on audio, look, it's clearly this is a hot topic, and I think a lot of people have gotten a lot out of this from each one of you, and I thank you, and I was super intentional when I put this panel together that I knew there were going to be minds, and I said to myself, I want a different mind that's going to have a different aspect, and I love what's happened here, and we've all kind of come together, and you know what? I think this kind of rhetoric and dialogue is really good in our society in general, right? We should all be able to disagree with each other, sit down on principle, go over things together, and we don't have to come out with an answer. That's the thing that people don't understand. There is no right answer. All right. There's one that I believe is the right answer. Doug sure as hell believes there's a right answer, but we're not going to solve for it. So with that being the case, and I have to do this because Ryan has not been on the show. Zach has not been on the show. Coral has not been on the show. Seth and Doug, you have. So I will ask this in closing. Ryan, what is one experience that you have had in your career? I'd love it to be with a customer if it could. Okay. That it's a customer experience that has shaped you, that wherever you go, it was so impactful that somehow, some way it plays a role in your everyday life. And with that, and if, by the way, as Ryan, Zach, and Coral answer this, but Coral, if you guys have it on the tip of your tongue and when you don't, like, just go.
I have a unique background, and 100% of the jobs I've ever had from the time I can remember has been, my first job was an executive assistant, sitting in a very unique place in a business. So while my interactions haven't necessarily been directly customer facing, from the time I was way too young to know what was going on and probably too dumb to be trusted with half the shit I was trusted with, I had a unique view of business and what happened, like the ripple effect associated with that, right? So if I can say anything about what has impacted me as a business, my key takeaway is humanize everything 100% of the time. Because I've seen what happens when that goes really well. I've seen what happens when it goes really bad. And I have a very fierce loyalty and just a demand for humility at all times, no matter what. I will say, like, my entire company was founded on, it's never just business. People who say it's just business are people who are telling themselves that so that they can feel comfortable about just being shitty at it.
Coral, what about you? What's happened inside a customer's house, or what's one customer you have that moves you, shapes you, lives with you wherever you go?
So I do have
one. Can you start with, so I was in this house, so that we can actually do like one thing that this podcast wasn't intended for? Yeah.
So I was in this house, and I had a couple of clients. They were a lesbian couple, really cool. Some of my favorite types of clients. Yes, I love them. I love my lesbians. They are ready. They are successful. They want to spend money.
Here's the quote.
My favorite.
Were they dual income, no kids? Were they dual income, no kids?
Dual income, no kids.
Those are the best customers.
Only dogs, right? They're like Frenchies, right? They're like,
I got these Frenchies. $3,500 dogs.
Yes. I'm like, you guys are so ready to buy my indoor air quality. They did not need a system. They called me out there for a maintenance. I started talking to them about indoor air quality, and they ended up buying my entire best list. It ended up being, I think, a $13,000 indoor air quality list. We got everything installed. They called me back out and specifically called me on my cell phone and said, we want you to come and sell us anything that you have for water, and bring everything you have to the table. And they still
water filtration, right?
Water treatment, water filtration. They wanted the whole home water purification systems, things like that. So not only did they buy this incredible indoor air package from me, they called me crying 3 weeks in a row. We feel so much better. I can't explain what you have done for us. We were getting ready to move out of this house and sell it. We thought we were just completely done. And they said, we live here because of you. They still send me a Christmas card every single year. I don't work for the company when I had, sold that to them. They tracked me down. They scoured Google and searched in my name, which isn't hard, right? They found where I worked.
Your name is Coral Whale. It's you're in the ocean somehow.
They found me. I actually have quite a few clients that do that. I carry them everywhere I go. Every house I'm in, look, I really helped them, but they were it was one of my very first big sales that I got where I won and they won. And then it proved to me that the products that I am in houses talking about work. They work. And it made me believe in the products. Therefore, I was able to pass that along to all of my other clients. And I take that everywhere with me. I will. The other one thing I take with me from everywhere is my reviews. Like, I will always, if I'm having a bad day, all I do is get on and look through Google. And I'm like, you know what? They might not have purchased something from me. Maybe I didn't earn their trust, but these other 50 people did, and they blasted that shit on Google. And that makes me feel good that these people did, in fact, decide to purchase $15, $20, $30, $40,000 worth of equipment. And they love our company. They love me. They love the service. They will have us out for the next 10 years. They're not even mad about it, even a little bit. And that's what I take.
You blinded them. You oversold them, Coral. I'm just kidding.
I did. Zach, I did. And they don't hate me. They don't hate me. And that's the beautiful part is
That's awesome. Zach, so I was in this house.
Oh man. It depends what I'm drawing from.
Doesn't matter. I mean, you own a company. I'm sure you've been in 5,000 houses.
Yeah. I mean, from
one story that was so impactful that lives with you.
I think that's the problem is trying to pick one, right?
You don't remember one customer that just changed your life? Like I can imagine
trying to put one story above another when it's like it regularly helping people and regularly getting feedback that people are, feeling relieved and we're generally not the first one in the house, but we are the last. And so, and that's, I've become very jaded on that. So it's hard to say that any of that stuff has changed me, even the first time to the last time, because it happens so often. It's just, to me, it's just part of regularly doing business. That's the right way to do it. Those should be the results. But there's such every year. So I use our Train Do What's Right program instead of having to, use it to fix mistakes. We don't encounter those. I give the equipment away. Right. So instead of trying to draw up, I personally pick who I think is a deserving party. I just wait for it to come to me. I believe it's going to be serendipitous and it always lands in my lap. A couple of years ago, there was a woman that I saw on the news with a bunch of window units and talking, in front of her house, and developers were trying to take this woman's house. And it touched home to me, because all the private equity bullshit we see in our industry. And this was a private equity company who was building a neighborhood in Hilton Head who wanted to take this woman's family home from her. Wanted to take it from her, and it had been passed down generations. And what struck me is that this woman was out in front of her house speaking with conviction. She had just come down off of an 80-year-old woman, just come down off her own roof fixing it. I spent 3.5 months tracking this woman down through her attorneys so I could give her an air conditioner. I was fucking bound and determined to do it. When we got to her house, I've seen people be grateful. But this was different. The amount of appreciation, and we weren't looking for it, And I don't ever advertise this stuff. I purposely keep it off the internet, to be honest. I don't even know why I'm talking about it right now, because I feel kind of guilty, because I don't want this to be out there like we did it for any other reason. And it just feels good to do it.
I'd like to hear it.
But, we took everything, treated her just like we treat any other client. And in this case, we did make a choice for her. I told Train to give me the best thing they were going to give me for free. Right. The do what's right has its limits. So I made sure I took that to its limit. And, she had a package unit. So in this case, variable speed blower, single stage, just, what they'll give you. So we gave her a full duct system in that. She calls me a week later, tells me the house has never been this comfortable. Now, the sad part is this woman died a couple months later. Her daughter called me and told me how nice it was for her, like that her mother for the past, got to be comfortable in that time. And it was hard for me not to feel emotional about that, because I felt like, we had built this connection with this woman, who I'd never met before. Saw in the news, just saw, an opportunity, that, hey, this is the right place for this. And it reinforced my belief that as long as you look for the right opportunities and pay attention when they are put in front of you, and do the right thing at the right time, then everything kind of just comes together. Right. And you can look at it from a sales perspective, from any perspective, but I think, just keeping our eyes and our hearts opened at all the right times can ultimately, bring us a lot more measurable success than we're going to find in any sort of revenue or money. It's like a different type of joy and community that, is special.
Love it. Hey, any final words from Doug or Seth?
Go ahead, Seth.
Oh, I guess we didn't get into it, but I do think that it's difficult to overstate the way that AI is going to transform our industry over the next 5 years. And I think if you look at the list of professions that are likely to be replaced by AI, moving to a digital sales process, similar to how people are purchasing things on Amazon, I think that's going to move into our space. I definitely think that's going to start I don't think it's going to eliminate completely the human element of it. I don't think that's going to happen, but I do think people like to buy, they don't want to be sold. And I think the more you can give them options and make it super customizable, where it's low pressure, customized to them, easy to do, I think that's going to take off. So to a certain extent, some of this trade-off decision goes away a little bit, or is at least ameliorated by that. But I think that, I know we got kind of passionate, but I think everything Doug has said is totally accurate. I think, everybody here has made great points. I just think that there's two sides to every story. And, I think we've identified sort of what the highs and the lows are of each model. So I just appreciate being on the podcast.
Seth, appreciate it. And of course, Doug, you won't actually have the final word, but you'll
Of
have
course
the
not.
word.
Well, I'll start with this. Thank you for having me on.
Two alphas are sitting in a room. Go ahead.
I'm honored to be invited into this panel. Great.
This panel's entirely alphas, by the way. Every single one of us on here is an alpha.
I hope we didn't lose Zach. I wanted to say something nice. Zach, I hope you're still there. Oh, I think we lost him. I'm going to say it anyway. He can say it. He can see it on the recording. Ryan, fantastic points. Coral, I'll tell you, if anybody goes and listens to Coral on Waste No Day, you could probably double your average service tickets in your service department if you just do what she outlined on Waste No Day. Coral has a mindset unlike any other, that she's chomping at the bit to run maintenance calls. And we all know most of our selling techs don't want to run maintenance. And that's what Coral is just waiting in the wings like a thoroughbred to go out there and run. So Coral, just an honor to be on here with you today. Seth, you have incredible stuff. I know you didn't get to talk about your AI that much tonight, but
that's okay.
There's been some comments in the chat that people would like to do an AI one. I also want to say, man, I wish my good buddy Sam Wakefield could have been on tonight. I know he was scheduled to be on, but he got a little tummy ache and he had a little runny nose. I'm just kidding. I think he got really sick. But we as guys like to talk a little crap to each other. Zach, Man, dude, that story was moving, and I don't know if you're watching the comments, but there's a lot of love in there. And I'll just say this. Um, I say we give each other the benefit of the doubt. Let's have a little bit more curiosity than judgment. We could see Zach sitting there in his garage with his Ferraris and whatever, $1 million worth of cars. And we
That's
could
my
go, what
wife's car on the bottom, so
a,
technically I can't claim that one.
yeah, so
Mine's
it's
on
her
top.
fault.
Yeah.
Bottom line is we could be judgmental and go, oh, look at this prick. He's got his cars in the background, but then all of a sudden, this is why I think curiosity is what we should be after, because now we hear a story from Zach, and I'm just going to share the lesson that I think, and I hope it wasn't passed over by any business owner, leader, manager, or technician or comfort advisor watching tonight. If Zach wasn't running a great business, if he wasn't displaying great leadership, if he wasn't holding his team accountable, if he didn't have his operations dialed in, and if he didn't have a sales process that he was following to charge more of a premium price, right? And he wasn't able to maintain those margins, not only would those cars not be there, not only would he not be employing 40 Americans in his backyard, giving people the opportunity to pay their rent, their mortgage, their car payments, and send their kids to school. That homeowner would not have lived out her last 90 days in a comfortable home because somebody else would have sold her some basic crap. Zach went in there and did it for free because he had the margin and the revenue to do it, because he's running a great business and he's a man of integrity. So I think my point in saying that is congratulations to you, Zach. And what an amazing thing you did for that woman. And yeah, I think we all probably were like, she passed away. But I was thinking it before you even said what her daughter called, and I was like, you know what? What an incredible thing that you did for that woman to give her comfort and peace in her remaining days. And I think that's what we should be about, whether it's a selling tech model or a comfort advisor model, a turnover model, repair versus replace. We as an industry have to raise our leadership, the way that we inspire, the way that we hold our teams accountable to getting better every single day. The words that we share matter, the details matter, the way we look matter, the way we go through our discovery process matters, the way we effectively communicate matters. But I'll tell you this, none of it matters if we get down to the end and our team in the field gets tripped up by, I need more bids, I'm not familiar with your brand, let me think about it, let me sleep on it, let me pray about it, let me talk to my spouse about it. If our teams are getting caught up on that and we're discounting or we're emailing or we're getting ghosted, none of anything else matters. We've got to be able to go in there with high service, not high pressure. We've got to serve our customers better, and we've got to be ready to handle the bids, the brands, the stalls, and the price, and take responsibility for that no matter who's in the field. Because those leads, those homeowners, lifetime value, everything about it is liquid gold. And I shared this with my team. I'll finish with this, Everett. I would always share with my team, if you truly believe that you wear your logo like a badge of honor, if you truly believe we're the best, then don't ever tell me that you're not willing to study, to get better, to be better at persuasion, to get these folks to choose us. Because if they don't choose us and they end up going with somebody else, whether they're cheaper or whether they're more than us, if they choose somebody else and that company doesn't stand behind their work and serve them like we did, we've all failed. So don't tell me you don't want to role play. Don't tell me you don't want to train. Don't tell me that you don't want to tuck in your uniform or wear your name badge or trim your beard or brush your teeth or put on your company hat. You tell me that, there's the door. You want to tell me that you want to work your ass off and serve our customers like no other competitor would be willing to do, then you got a place here for life.
Love it. So much knowledge in this panel, and for anybody listening, anybody watching, leverage the people that are here. Everybody here is, I'm sure, available for a phone call or ping me on. I get messages all day long, and I really want to thank you guys so much for coming out here. Really, seriously, thank you so much. I'm gonna end, and I'm gonna just close out real quick, and I'm just gonna talk about. I have 3 episodes that are coming up that are super cool. But aside from that, I want to say that a little what I said earlier, which is, and Doug, you hit the nail on the head. It's like a little more curiosity, understand people a little bit better, serve your, Alan said it best too, right? Serve your customer the best that you possibly can. And I think that when you deliver that type of service, when you do that kind of thing, when you stand out, when you differentiate yourself, you know, when I first started in this industry, I was 0 for my first 11 calls. You know how terrible it is to go through 3 months of training, then for your sales manager to send you to 11 straight sales calls, and I didn't come away with one sale in my first 11 calls. And shortly after that, the manager that I had, who beat the ever living shit out of me, I learned a lot from him. He told me, and he kind of cursed it at me, that I'm in the wrong effing business. You're in the wrong effing business. You're not. You're. This is the wrong business for you. Hung up the phone on me, and in that moment, I had a choice. And I decided to go into his office the next day, and I stood there and I was like, I'm your guy. I can do this. And there was a big team. I can do this. And I know you said I'm in the wrong business here, but I'm going to make this happen. And in that first year, I ended up getting an award from Success Group International at the time, Airtime 500, for being one of the top, like hitting a certain mark sales rep. And that was sort of the beginning. But for anybody who's like tried something and then it doesn't work, I've now had a 16 plus year career with many, many plaques on the walls and rings and trips to tropical destinations that I've won from manufacturers and stuff like that, because I worked really, really, really hard in this field to get really, really good at being that rep. And the crazy part about that is that when you hear sales rep, you're like, oh, but then when you see the process that somebody like a Doug or a Zach or a Coral or a Ryan or me will bring, that you have to understand that it's not all built the same. Not all sales reps are built the same. So in following following sort of in the sentiment that we talked about earlier, it's like, if you want to be the best, right, you can be a sales rep and you can also be ethical. You can be a selling tech and you can also be ethical. You can do these things and they can live mutually exclusive of each other. They can live symbiotically, right? So sales is not necessarily a bad word. And for those of you out there who are going to listen to this and you are sales reps and you do feel like you're a pain in the ass to your operational people like Ryan, stop. Okay?
Yes.
Stop.
Yes.
Just
Raise
stop.
your game.
Do better, fill out the installation sheet better, take better pictures, take better measurements, take better calculations, do everything better, use tools. That's my message. And with that, I love you all. I do have Drew Cameron coming up next week. And I also am interviewing, it's not going to be live, I'll drop it later, Sarah Pellet Gerardo from Service Titan and from the Trademark podcast. She's going to be on Monday. I have so much happening in the background, guys. It's like this podcast has exploded in the last like 6 months, and Service World Expo is right around the corner. I love you all, and to all, a good night.